Welcome back, Mistakes listener. This is Dave. This is episode 33. This would be a special episode for us because we are celebrating Halloween. But it's after Halloween. Yep, Todd and I were late in our recording. Anyway, we watched a show called Mighty Med this week. Obviously, we recorded this episode on 10/31/2015, or Halloween. You can follow us on Twitter at Parent Mistakes, and you can like us on Facebook at Parenting Mistakes. Hey, sit back and enjoy the show. Todd, it suddenly occurred to me this week that we have actually we haven't really done a holiday episode.
A holiday episode?
Yeah, we haven't done a holiday episode, and because today is, what is today? Halloween, right?
Well, it's Reformation Day.
Oh, Reformation Day, yes, and tomorrow's the Day of the Dead, right? Or the day of, well, the people that celebrate,
Yes.
Okay.
Do we do holiday episodes? What does
Well,
that
we're
look
doing
like
one
for us?
today because it's Reformation Day. Or Halloween. Or
Well,
Halloween.
It's not like we're dressing up or anything. It is a podcast after all.
No, well, you can imagine that we're dressed up, right? I chose
guess.
to dress up like Gumby. As
Yes.
you know, I love Gumby.
You do love Gumby. I will be going as a concerned parent.
Oh, are you? Is that what you're going as tonight? Concerned
Yes.
parent?
That's my go-to outfit.
Oh my gosh. So we have been negotiating on this All Hallows Eve with our eldest because Candy makes her go absolutely nuts. Like, she just goes off the hook. She has a little bit of sugar and that is the end, right? So we have told her for every 10 pieces of candy she gets $1. And this seems like a good solution for
You mean
her.
you're buying her candy?
Yes, we're going to buy the candy off of her so that she feels
Wow.
like she's getting something,
Wow.
right? So, but that's actually not what I wanted to talk about on this special Halloween episode. Maybe this episode, Todd, I'll do some eerie noises.
Okay.
Well, you've been dying for sound effects, right? Like, oh, this is the
Well,
time for...
I mean, sound effects with purpose.
Okay. Fine, I'm not going to do eerie noises. I'll do one now.
Okay.
Right? Are you scared?
I am scared, but a different type of fear.
Yeah, that's right. I wanted to talk about what. So we are, I would say, protectors of the protectorate of children's viewing, right? And
Yes.
and I've often wondered what exactly happens to a child that sees something that they shouldn't see before their time. Do you know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
So they have been suddenly desensitized way too soon. Which, is there research behind that? Is there something that says that at the age of 12, the coming of age, that you should actually see a gunfight? Like,
Well,
how is
sure.
that? I mean, is this stuff that's supposed to be snuck in there so that eventually you can tolerate violence as time goes on?
I wouldn't say that showing violence on television is intended to prepare you for the rigors of adult life. That might be a stretch.
Right, but I would say as a kid, there's lots of things on TV that can scare the bejoobs out of you.
Yes.
Have they actually done any research? So this is what I'm curious about. There's just a lot of blasé statements out there that say, and even the government says this, too much TV is bad.
Right.
And violence on TV for kids is bad.
Yes.
But what exactly is the side effect of that? Like, if a child sees something too violent before their age, what is the side effect? Have they come up with a side effect?
Well, from what I've read, there's a couple different theories.
Oh, okay, so it's theories. It's not like fact.
Well, a good scientist does not necessarily use the word fact.
Oh, okay, right. Right.
It's sort
No,
of
no,
like
I'm
this
not-
week.
I'm
there
not
was
trying-
you get it.
Okay, I'm not trying to mock you.
No. Well, they don't.
I'm mocking
That's-
science, as I typically do.
That's a metaphysical term. That makes us feel better about the fact that the information we're given is a little mushy.
Right.
We want to latch on to simple stuff and just sort of say, okay, bacon causes cancer. Got it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, smoking does cause cancer.
It does. And bacon is now a carcinogen, so...
Yeah, people don't smoke bacon, but do they?
Well,
Anyway, so let's not lose the thought.
Okay, so I'll give you two things that I've read. One, which we've discussed before, is desensitization.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see enough violence, you just sort of, you don't really realize that, oh, this is actually bad. This is actually traumatic. When people deal with this in real life, it's really awful.
Yes.
It's sort of like combat when we see war. War is awful. It's a horrible, horrible thing that traumatizes some people forever.
Yep, that's true.
But we sort of see it as kind of running around with some guns, and it's kind of cool, and it's fun in games.
Sure.
The other theory that I've read is that...
So if you see something, you're traumatized.
Well, maybe traumatized is the wrong word, but I suppose you could say...
Post-traumatic.
Mildly traumatized, as in it's subtle.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose you could liken it to hitting your head, not really violently, but just hitting your head a whole bunch of times.
Oh, yeah, like football.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So eventually that sort of adds
right.
up to...
Right. People not living good lives after their football careers.
The other general theory, and they apply this also to video games, is that when people watch certain content, they may mimic the content. So they may become, say, more aggressive than they were before.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the hard part with this type of research is that if it were an obvious and direct corollary, this stuff would have been banned long ago. Because you and I watched violent content growing up. We continue to watch violent content. And we don't directly go out and get in fist fights with people at the supermarket.
Yes. And, and that's why I'm bringing this topic up, because it's Halloween. I wanted to tell you about one of the first horrific thing I ever saw on TV. And I think the reason why we do this show, to be honest with you, is because I would like to protect kids from an incident that happened for me. Right?
Okay.
And I would say, is it post-traumatic? How about this? I'll never forget it. So I'm sitting in my basement in Chicago. I must have been 7 years old, and I was up a little bit later, and I was watching a movie that was on TV, and it was the Bonnie and Clyde story, right?
Okay.
So this was Dobie Gillis, the guy who played opposite Dobie Gillis. He was Dick Tracy. He was married to Madonna. What was his name?
Sean Penn.
No, not Sean Penn, not Spicoli. No, Sean Penn never played
It doesn't
Dick Tracy
matter.
either.
Anyway, moving on. You're watching Bonnie and Clyde.
Yes, and there is a massive, massive shootout.
Okay.
And it first of all, it was shocking because there was a lot of blood, and it was very apparent that the bullets were making a connection with the bodies, and the bodies were all hung over. This is actually the climatic end scene of Bonnie and Clyde, where they just get pulverized by bullets.
Correct.
And I remember as a child being utterly shocked, and it was way too soon for something like that. And the deal is, I'll never forget it. Am I traumatized? No, but what's interesting about it is I can't get it out of my mind.
Right.
It's an image that quote unquote robbed my innocence. Right? And I think one of our objectives in this show, and when I think about Halloween and all the horrific things that we're seeing today, is that we do strive here at Parenting Mistakes to keep our children innocent. To keep that wonder, and to also, because what I learned there was that, oh yeah, there are aspects of TV that are just horrific that I could kind of, maybe probably equate to life as well. But at the same time, I didn't need it as a kid. It's certainly something that I didn't have to, here's another wonderful image to put in my memory bank, when I got enough hard time just trying to put 2 and 2 to make 4 together, correct?
Yes.
I mean, I do believe that is one of our objectives here.
I would agree.
Yeah. So, it's interesting as we get into some of these cartoons, and I'm thinking to myself, what is it? Again, we're trying to pinpoint like what is happening with these cartoons, and how are we keeping our kids' innocences, right? Innocences. I don't think that's a word.
Probably not. But you know what? The English language is evolving.
All the time.
Or devolving.
That's right. I mean, I think you would agree, yes?
I do. You know what I think you need?
What? Well, I could get a little therapy for sure.
You could get a little therapy.
Yeah.
I think you could get some at a special hospital called Mighty Med.
Mighty Med. Oh, that was so clever. I didn't even see the segue.
You didn't see the segue?
I didn't even see the segue.
Thought you got, used to that.
Yeah, so I would say that one of our new core beliefs as we segue is to keep your child's innocence. Watch what they're watching. Be aware of what's happening because they have already got enough to deal with versus not watching your child and suddenly they're watching a shootout that just gave them nightmares for 3 weeks.
And don't let them watch Bonnie and Clyde because it'll mess them up. Like Dave.
Oh, Lordy. Anyway.
So should we segue all the way?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We got to talk about this show.
Mighty Med.
Mighty Med. Oh, my word.
This is a Disney XD
yep.
original series, also available on Netflix. The synopsis of this is that there are two boys, Kaz and Oliver,
yep.
who discover a superhero hospital through a secret entrance in a regular hospital. And
Makes
for some
sense.
reason, yes, of course, if you go to your local hospital somewhere, there's a secret door to the superhero hospital.
Yeah. Why not, right?
Why not, right? Apparently they become doctors, I'm not really sure. Doctors and youth observers. And they have various hijinks helping injured superheroes and dealing with various supervillains.
Right. No, I mean, all of this makes sense. And actually, if you were to base it on anything, as we saw last week, Star Labs is something in the DC universe that does a lot of experiments. They actually do, in the comic books, they're sort of a superhero hospital. If Superman needs a checkup, he goes to Star Labs.
Okay.
Yeah, my heat vision's not as hot as it was, so help me take two of these.
That's right.
Anyway, so yes, and apparently one of the female of the what's the name of the girl?
Oh, let's see.
Pink suit girl, pink tight suit girl.
Skylar Storm.
Right, she is permanently injured. From what I gathered from this episode.
Okay, I did not gather that from the episode.
She said at the episode, like, I wish I had my powers, but I don't, and I can't help you. So maybe there's some continuing theme there, or, I mean, what's the reason for her to hang out at the hospital? Usually it's kind of like you fix your problem and you go.
Yes. But for some reason she also doesn't seem to be quite, well, she's not human. She looks human, but
she's alien. She says she's an alien.
Yeah, she doesn't quite understand human behavior, and so it appears there's an ongoing plot of Kaz and Oliver trying to orient her to what it means to be, I guess they call them normos, because they're ordinary humans.
Right. But and that's the whole plot of this particular episode, is to
is the whole plot.
Teach Mr. Spock about pranks.
Yes.
Right? Because that's kind of what this is all about, is that the two young gentlemen decide that Florrie Fleety, what's her name? Crap.
Skylar Storm.
Skylar Storm doesn't know enough about human nature to actually pull off a good prank.
Yes.
Right? And now this is your classic prank type episode where the person that is being pranked at the end, and I'll just cut right to the chase, the person that's being pranked gets pranked once and then sets up the entire episode to prank the two main characters to the point where they don't know they're being pranked anymore, and the big joke at the end is, you've been pranked, right? By the person that they never thought could prank them.
Yes.
Or by the person that they didn't think could prank.
Correct.
We have seen this many times. Now, what's interesting about this episode is it has a sports star.
It does.
Which this sports star, was that actually his real daughter? Do you think that's what was
I have
occurring?
no idea.
Like he
I have
wrote
no
Disney
idea.
and is like, my daughter really likes MD, medical doctors, medical medis. Can my daughter be on the show with you, and I will be your football star for the week? Sorry, basketball star.
Basketball star.
Right.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I know that when I was watching it, there's a couple of jokes which I said to myself, I get the joke, and Dave is not going to get this
Nope,
joke.
I didn't. I was like, this is not my strength. This is not. I thought finally there's an episode that Todd will really more understand than I will.
Yes. So there were a couple that stood out. One, his superhero costume is in the laundry, and the only thing they give him to wear is this shirt, which turns out to be the jersey of the team he plays for.
Okay.
And the other thing is
It's like, I kind of got that joke. I'm not that
you probably got that one.
Yeah.
And then he also struggles with shooting a basketball into a hoop.
Oh, how can he be a basketball player? And they're like, well, so is he really good at it? Is that the irony? Oh,
See, the irony is, well, he's laughing at himself.
okay.
So he's a center. He plays in the middle. He's a tall guy. He's one of the taller
He's
guys on the
huge.
floor. Yes. He has a terrible time shooting free throws in real life.
Okay.
He's a terrible free throw shooter, which always bothers me because I'm like, you're a professional and this is the only thing you ever have to learn how to do. But he is terrible at shooting free throws.
Sure. I'm a great driver, but I suck at parallel parking.
Yeah, well, so there you go.
Yeah.
Did you like this?
You know what? No. I wish I liked it better. I just, sometimes, well, now again, as we sit here on episode 33, I think to myself, we've just seen this Disney formula over and over and over again with some unique bent, some unique twist, and it's just kind of, it's amazing because I think I was talking to my wife about it. I said, Disney is very, very good at crafting actors to become sort of the Disney, troupe. And
Right.
I know I've seen this kid before, like some of these centralized characters. So it's sort of like, well, we've brought him up on this show. Let's say he's like one of the kids on Jessie, which he's not, but let's just say. And they're like, well, we'll just craft a show around him. And again, I feel like there's not a whole lot of effort placed into the crafting of the show, other than we just need to get these stars out there. Here's a vehicle for this particular star, and away it goes. Now, is it offensive? Absolutely not. Right? Is it creative? Not really. Right? It's
beyond the basic elements of the overall premise.
Yeah, I just wasn't entertained. Now that's just me. Now would a kid be entertained? I think it'd be very interesting for us more often than not to sit down with kids next to us as we
Right.
watch some of these shows just to see their reactions. And I think I might start doing that a little bit more with Kayleen because I'm sure she'd dig it. And I'd find that if Kayleen watched the show, it would be totally okay. There wasn't anything on it that I was like, eh. There was the classic, but don't let me overlook. There's the classic Disney snarkiness. There's the classic Disney sarcasm. There's the classic Disney, their adversarial nature between father and son type deal that was happening there, right? I'm going to fool my son into not getting this particular item as a
Right.
joke, right? And then ultimately, because it's a prank episode, he pranks his son out of something that he desires, which is a whole other subplot to this show.
Right.
But it came up, right? I'm like, well, and of course the parent is off, right? It's not the guardians of the parents of the show are not in control of the show. It's the kids' world. Although
Right.
I'd say this parent's a little bit more involved.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, they definitely play a role, but they're still sort of held at arm's length.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I
would
could be. See, here's the deal. I could be really critical. I could just say, if you know us, you've watched our show, you know that when I say a Disney style, there's going to be certain things that are going to be coming up, but I don't want to neglect those. But I just hate repeating myself. Snarkiness, bad parenting, sarcasm, and I'm going to get you kind of rivalry, right? And the main characters, you guys are just dumb. Right?
Yes. I found myself bored watching this show.
Right.
I was waiting for it to end.
Yes. I'm with you.
And I can't say that I feel that way about every Disney show. There have been some that I've enjoyed. The writing is a little better. The plot's a little more creative. This feels like just a standard, generic, colorful Disney package. And to your point, would kids like it? I guess they might. It doesn't seem to really have I don't know how to say it. I mean, where do you go with this? There's not much. There's not much there.
Well, okay, but I'll say the subtext or the metadata here is that this is about the stars of Disney. I know, again, I've seen these kids before. They're in and out. Here's just another vehicle in which we're going to present our stars to you because you like these kids. I think kids go, oh, okay, I'll just watch or follow my favorite star as they go on do this. You know, here's some different twists, but I really like these people. You know, I think it's a matter of, you know, Disney's got a resource in these actors, and they're going to just put them in front of that camera. And too bad that this just happens to be one of those shows that there's just not a whole lot of effort placed into it.
Well, and as I'm reading, you know, and I did a little background research on this, this show is actually going to end, and they're going to take this and some characters from Lab Rats, and they're going to create a spin-off.
See?
Which, again, fits into the whole, hey, we'll just take a few characters from each show, throw them into
mix and match,
throw them in a blender, spit out another Disney product until they age a little bit, and then we will move on.
Yeah, it is a business, so ultimately, right, but at the same time, I'm like, yuck.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
that statement right there is like...
Instead of Mighty Med, you could take the D off the end and put an H. So it's kind of... I know that's kind of mean. I'm not trying to be clever, but it's just, yeah. As you said, it's clean, it's reasonably appropriate, but it's also pretty dull. I mean, there's not a lot there. Now, again, you know, maybe there are other episodes that are a little more compelling. Throw some supervillains in, but it feels a little forced. And anytime you throw, and we've seen this since we were kids, anytime you throw a celebrity, which, again, actors and actresses are celebrities in and of themselves, but anytime you throw a non-regular actor in, like a sports figure,
sure,
you're going to get a, hey, they're here as just a little extra flavor for the show, but they don't have particularly good acting chops.
Oh.
They're there because they're a recognizable icon.
I believe it was in the later seasons of Star Trek Voyager that they had a Rock episode where the Rock was introduced onto a planet in which he had to wrestle other aliens. I kid you not. You know, and I can't remember what character on Star Trek had to go toe-to-toe with the Rock. Oh, I think it was 7 of 9. So they throw 7 of 9 against the Rock, right? And I kid you not, the Rock cocked his eyebrows. This is before his movie career. And UPN at that time had 2 great shows. Voyager, great show. And WWF, right? So like, hey, let's take the chocolate and peanut butter and put it together, right?
That's right.
And I remember going, I mean, as a Star Trek fan, I'm like, oh my gosh. But you like The Rock. But this, right, it's such a weird vehicle, right? We're just going to throw the star in there. The kids can do circles in acting around him. Yeah. Right? All he has to do is just do his lines. Let's not forget the end credits. The end credits were the funniest part of the show.
Oh, yeah,
There's the laugh out loud part.
Yeah, that was the best part.
I'm like, this is making it for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And why was that, Todd?
That was the only comedy there.
So what was happening? Like, what you had to learn?
In the end credits, they have, earlier in the show, they have this basketball player come out spinning a ball on his finger.
Right.
And in the end credits, they show
Actually, I thought he was a globetrotter for a while.
Yeah, well.
Because anybody that does that, you think he's a globetrotter. He's not a sports guy.
But in the end credits, they show him all the attempts where he tried to spin a ball on his finger and couldn't.
which is really good.
Balls going all over the place.
It was
Yeah,
pretty funny, and his reactions to it were authentic, and I was like, man, they could have done at least 25 minutes of this, and I would have watched it the entire time.
Hey, but you know what? When Mr. T did a cameo on Silver Spoons back in the day, that was acting gold right there.
Yeah, I pity the mistakes.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, you got anything else for this?
Happy
Sure.
Halloween episode. By the way, this Halloween episode, usually we should have, if we're going to do a holiday episode, we should do it before the holiday. But hey, it's parenting mistakes, so we're going to do
That's
the holiday episode later. So happy Halloween this year and possibly next year, right?
And Happy Reformation Day.
Yeah.
And
Day
people
of
will
the
be
Dead
eating
or
candy
whatever.
for a while anyway.
Are you going to pay your kids off?
No.
Oh, okay. So
Maybe
don't.
we'll discuss that in a different episode.
All right,
All right.
Todd.
You can follow us on Twitter, Parent Mistakes, or you can like us on Facebook, Parenting Mistakes, and give us feedback.
And have a good one. Happy Halloween!